You go for it. Right. Do you want to introduce the team?
I could introduce the team and I could welcome you all. Lovely to see you. Thank you very much for signing on. I'm John Gordon Reed. I work at What on Earth, and I'm a director of What on Earth Publishing, and I run the special projects in the magazine, which we launched just a couple of years ago. So hopefully we'll get to speak a lot more over the next few weeks. But in the meantime, we've got Professor Kremin, who's currently in Australia, so she won't be joining us. But she will be leading our study and leading our wonderful team of Kelly and Sarah, who are hopefully visible on screen. And so it's probably best if Kelly and Sarah take over and introduce themselves.
What? Oh, yes, wonderful. Well, as I say, I work for the Open University. I'm a lecturer in reading for pleasure. And Sarah?
Hey, hi everyone. I'm Sarah Critton. I'm a lecturer in childhood and youth studies. My research background is in the language and literacy development of young children and their teachers. So nice to meet you all.
Wonderful. John, do you want to tell us the good news about the magazine? You had some very good news, didn't you, recently?
We did indeed, yes. We've just been named as Children's Magazine of the Year by the Professional Publishers Association, and we've also got Designer of the Year and runner-up in Cover of the Year. So it wasn't quite the hat trick, but it was pretty good. We're very, very proud of that. We've only been going about 2 years. The magazine, I don't know if any of you have seen the latest edition, Killer Plants. So in every magazine, we'd put our headline and our cover story, and then we try and pack the insides of the magazine full of the most exciting non-fiction that you can possibly imagine. And we always try and keep it colourful. That's our bumper summer issue, which is entitled That's Gross, and is guaranteed, hopefully, to get the creative and curiosity juices flowing. The first phase of the study we concluded a few months ago was with one school down in Hackney in London. Kelly worked on that study, and we found that the magazine was really very good at engaging young people. And so we thought we'd expand that, and we thought we'd run into a slightly larger study. So we're absolutely thrilled that we've now got 13 schools in this study and a total of 607 students taking part. So we've really managed to spread out sort of far and wide on that, and they're spread across the country, ranging from number 14 in the north down to number 16 in the south. Some of the numbers there are where Kelly, Sarah, and myself lived, just so we could figure out if we could actually get round to everybody, which is quite important because we'd love to come and visit you all over the next few weeks as the study progresses. And what we're going to try and do with that is we're going to try very hard to keep you in the loop, and we're going to try very hard to keep the communication flowing. But the one thing we really ask from all of you, please, is as we kick off in September with the children in the classrooms, please, those first 2 weeks, just try and really get revved up and up to full speed as quickly as possible. Otherwise, we're not going to get through all the different editions of the magazines and the issues of the magazines that we'd love to send you free of charge for all the children taking part. I think that's all I need to say, apart from one more thing, and that is I've already asked you to very kindly fill in a participation form, which some of you have already done. I refer in that to a unique reference number. More of that later, but basically each school is being allocated a number, which will be their unique reference within the study to be quoted on any documents, please. Thank you very much.
Wonderful. I think that Sarah's going to tell us a little bit about our research questions.
I am indeed. So we have 3 questions that we're hoping to address during the course of this study. So the first one, as you can see, is what is the nature of pupils' engagement with the magazine? So by this we mean, what do children enjoy about the magazine? Over the time, you know, when we talk to them towards the end, what perhaps they'd like to have seen more of, or perhaps what they didn't enjoy as much. We're also interested in kind of how they approach accessing the magazine. Do they kind of look at it from cover to cover, dip in and out of it? Do they like to read alone? Do they prefer talking with their peers? So just getting a sense of how they interact with the magazine and maybe how that changes over the course of the study. The second question is a real big focus for this study compared to phase one, and something that we're sure all of you will be very interested in as well, is the focus on reluctant readers. So can and how does the magazine increase engagement with reluctant readers? And we'll be working with you to, or looking at the pupils' scores that they give themselves as to how much they enjoy reading, and their parents, and working with their teachers, with you guys, to kind of identify who those reluctant readers might be, so we can talk to them and see over the course of the study how they interact with the magazine. And the third question is about how does having access to the magazine impact on pupils' wider reading choices? So what we're interested here is what they like to read at the moment and what they would choose to read. Does that involve non-fiction? Does it involve, you know, magazines alongside books and other types of reading materials? And then whether, again, through the course of the study, whether we can see any changes in that. Okay. So in terms of the timeline, as John was kind of hinting, we're going to hit the ground running a little bit with this study. So as he said, we can get in as many new magazines for the children as possible to keep it fresh for them and for you as we go through the study. So the next time we meet will be the 5th of September, where Kelly's going to lead us in a sort of CPD session for what is reading for pleasure. So if you haven't had an invitation to that yet, don't worry, that will be winging its way to you. So Kelly's going to give us an overall introduction to reading for pleasure, what we mean by that, engaging in book talk with our children, and also how to navigate the magazine. And the Killer Plants edition that John sent you is something we're going to use as a basis for our discussion. So we're literally working off the same page. Okay, so the following week we're calling our kind of baseline and permissions week, if you like, where it's kind of really important, where we start to get in this initial data from children, from teachers, and start to get the kind of consent from parents as well. So in terms of involvement in the study, obviously as teachers, you'll be using, you know, for groups 1 and 2, you're going to be using these magazines as part of your weekly kind of curriculum. So the children don't need permission to be included in that, but what we would be seeking permission for is to use the data they provide in their baseline survey, and also potentially to take part in any focus groups. So there'll be a baseline survey for the children of a few questions around: do they enjoy reading? Do they choose to read? What kinds of things do they like to read? There'll be a baseline questionnaire for teachers around reading for pleasure, what they currently do, what materials are currently available, that kind of thing. And there'll also be, so those will involve consent in terms of can this data be used, and there'll also be a very short consent form for parents as well. Okay, so moving, oh, there was just one more left on that slide, Kelly. About halfway through, so the following week, that's when the magazines come into schools and can be used and accessed by teachers and pupils in groups 1 and 2. And Kelly will say a little bit more about the different groups shortly. So the important thing to get across really is that before the children and the teachers start using the magazine in class, that all those baseline surveys have been completed, because we really want to get a sense of the pre and the post. And we can only get a sense of the pre if all of those surveys have been completed before the children and teachers see the magazines. Okay, on to the next slide. So did we have focus groups somewhere, Kelly?
It's on the last one on this one.
It's on this one. Okay,
Yeah.
lovely.
Did you want me
Oh,
to
I
go?
see. Sorry, no, it's because my video is blocking it out. Sorry, I'll
Oh,
just move
right.
it. I've got Zoom on it. There we go. I've moved it over. Okay, so about halfway through the study, so depending on when your half term is and depending when we can get to you, we're looking at the weeks commencing either the 14th or the 21st of October. And this is where we see that midpoint where we'd like to talk to the children in focus groups that we've identified with you as potentially classed as reluctant readers. And that will probably be about 4 children per class. So if you've got 1 year 5 class in your school, it would be about 4 children from that class. If you've got 2 classes in your school, it would be 8 children overall, but we'll talk to them separately as 2 groups of 4. So this will be a midpoint look at to find out a little bit more about themselves as readers and to see how they're engaging with the magazines. Are we talking to teachers at that point too, Kelly? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
We'll do some midpoint teacher interviews at the same time as the midpoint focus groups, just
Yeah.
to get the teacher's perspective as well.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay, so that's our kind of first time that we're checking in with you, if you like. And then the magazine sessions will continue until just before the week commencing the 16th of December, sorry. And this is our last or sort of post part of the study where we need to collect the data again. So essentially, the pupil surveys will ask the children to complete those questions again so we can see if anything has changed. We'll ask the teachers to complete the questionnaires again to see if anything has changed. And for those children and teachers who've had the magazines in their class at this point, there will be a couple of extra questions just to kind of get that overview of what they've thought so far. And during those last couple of weeks, the week of 9th of December and the 16th of December, Kelly and I will be coming back into schools to do the endpoint discussions. So we'd like to meet again with the same children that we talked to earlier, just to see how they've got on and if anything's changed, and talk again to the teachers to see their view now they've had a whole kind of term of magazines. So the only other thing to mention is that those in group 3 who haven't had access to the magazines as yet will then at that point in January receive their magazines and also any information we've provided about how to lead teaching sessions using those magazines. Okay, and then I think finally we're aiming to write up all our findings and publish them as a final report to circulate with you all around March, April 2025. Okay, sorry, that was really quick, but this will be available to you.
Yes, we do have it as
following this session, so don't worry, you can look back over it again.
And just to say, it's really important that you do get those permissions, just jumping back here, getting those permissions within your first week, because in order for you to participate in the study and for us to come and meet with the focus groups and so on, we need to have those permissions. So do make sure that you make that a priority within the first weeks. John's going to send out some lovely simple cards that you can send home where the parents can kind of sign in return. So there's nothing kind of electronic that needs to be done with parents. We tried to make that process as simple as possible. You could even have like a little coffee morning, come and sign, come and find out about our magazine project at drop off, and then they could all sign at that point if they're happy.
Oh, just to come in there, sorry, Kelly. I was just going to suggest as well something that we talked about, if it is possible, in terms of the children's questionnaires before the study and after the study. There's nothing to stop you completing this at class level or in small groups, if that was something that you'd be able to do if you have a computer room or access to sets of laptops or tablets. And that way, you've got more control over ensuring that the children are all signed up and ready to take part.
Yes, we're going to be using Jotform for the children's surveys and the teacher surveys. So you will need some kind of access to devices in order to complete them. So thinking of our groups, as I say, we have 3 groups. So in group 1, we have these schools joining us, and you can see in the chart on the right kind of what group 1 will be participating in. Just as a reminder, we do have all of these visuals of these slides on the study section of the website, which John will tell you about in a few moments. So as you can see, we have roughly 209 pupils in the first group. Now, the first group is the teacher guided group. So you have specific guidance. The idea is with this first group, you start off your half an hour weekly magazine session. You have it at the same time every week. So whenever that fits into your timetable, the teacher does a bit of an introduction of something to do with the magazine, 5 minutes or so, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. And then the rest of the time of that session, the children are reading the magazine, talking to each other, engaging in that enjoyment of the magazine. So it's not an open free reading session and you can choose to read the magazine if you want to. It's a half an hour dedicated time for the magazine every week of the 12-week study. So that's the group 1. Okay, those are the schools. In group 2, we have 5 schools, and group 2 is the same as group 1. The only difference is there's not the teacher-led magazine moment at the start of the session. And also the difference is that it doesn't need to be at one set time every week. You still need to have that half an hour access every week, but you might decide we're going to do 15 minutes here and 15 minutes there, but it's much more pupil-led. It's not teacher-led. So what we're trying to ascertain here is whether the teacher-led element of the session actually makes any difference to their engagement or not. Okay, so groups 1 and 2, that is what's going to be happening. And as I say, we do have guidance for each groups, and we will cover this in a lot more detail in the session in September as well to make sure that you're really clear when those sessions are starting. Group 3 is our control group, and we still ask the control group to complete the surveys, the start of the beginning surveys, the end surveys, because they give us some really valuable data from the entire set around pupils' attitudes and perceptions of reading. But we don't want to leave you out. We're not coming to visit you for focus groups because, of course, you won't be engaging in the magazine sessions during the 12 weeks, but you will have absolute full access to the magazines, but from January. So that is going to make it the control group. So are those pupils' attitudes and perceptions of reading, are they changing at all in the 12-week period where the other class has the magazines and this group does not? So those are our 3 different study groups across the study. This page, again, just gives us a summary of each group and who's doing what. As you can see, the baseline surveys and the end surveys for teachers and for pupils will be conducted via Jotform. Okay, so it's an online survey tool. And the baseline survey, I've highlighted that in yellow. That is where you will have the pupil permission. Again, John will be sending slips of paper that can be given to parents. I would highly encourage you book some time with the Year 5 parents during a drop-off, during a pickup time of the day where you can get a large proportion of the parents coming in. Come and find out about that. Come and look at the magazine. Come and find, well, they won't have the magazine yet, but come and hear about the magazine study. It's really exciting. We're really pleased to be taking part. And then you can get those permissions in. Now, if you notice, groups 1 and 2, you will be visited by either Sarah, who is going to be visiting all the schools in group 1, or me, who I'm going to be visiting all the schools in group 2 in October and in December. So Sarah and I will be in touch with the schools before the end of term. We know how busy you are in organizing your calendars. So we will get some tentative dates in with you before the end of term where we know when we're going to be visiting. It's going to have to be a bit of shuffling. For instance, we're trying to kind of block schools so that we can minimize the travel time, but we will talk to you about that. So just to mention as well, each school has their own unique reference number. So the first number in the reference number refers to whether you're in group 1, group 2, or group 3, as in study group 1, study group 2, study group 3. And also the second number correlates to the map reference. And John had a very complicated and now streamlined perfect system. So every school has a URN. So when you are sent the forms to complete for pupils and for staff, it will have a URN. So we know all of these surveys are being received from Welsh Junior, or all of these are coming from Oasis Woodview. What you will need to do is when the pupils complete the forms and the teachers, they'll need to put their names. So Sarah and Teresa and I will analyze the surveys and also the teacher responses to come up using both qualitative and quantitative methods to decide who the focus children are going to be. So we're going to use both methods there to try and whittle down who those 4 pupils are going to be for the midpoint group and for the end point group. Okay.
Sorry, Kelly, can I just
Yes,
jump in
please do.
very quickly
Yes,
on that
please
one?
do.
The other thing that we've been that we've worked on to make sure happens is that in a particular school, all the classes are in the same cluster. And we're very happy if there's a bit of cross-fertilization between the classes within that within that school. So if Volans and Columba wish to talk to each other, or teachers wish to have a cup of coffee and chat about the whole thing, that's great.
Yeah, it won't kind of disturb any of the data because we've made sure that each school has a consistent group number. So I think this has been covered, but Sarah, so these are the groups that Sarah will be getting in touch with to arrange those midpoint visits. Was there anything else you wanted to say about those visits, Sarah?
I suppose ideally what we'd like to do is have one visit at midpoint and one visit at endpoint. So you probably work that out for yourselves, but just in terms of Kelly and I don't mind spending a bit of time at the school that day, but it would be good to do either our 1 or our 2 focus groups with the children, and then our 1 or our 2 interviews with the teacher, all kind of in one day. And it's easier for us and it's easier for you guys as well, because it's sort of that's the day we're coming, but we don't hang around too much.
Yeah, and the focus, just going from phase 1, the focus groups with the pupils, they take 20 minutes possibly. They're not very long, but depending on the number of groups that you have, and then we'll need teacher interviews. So it's thinking about even a half a day. It's thinking about what's a better time to come and visit. Is it the morning? Is it the afternoon? We're not going to be there for a full day, so you're not needing to find that time to shuffle. And then these are the schools I'll be visiting in for group 2. So as I say, look out for the email. We will be in touch with you in the next week or so. Were there questions? Oh, Wyburn was just saying, oh, you're answering that, John. That's fine.
Yeah.
Okay, John, do you want to tell us about keeping in touch? I think this was the last, and then we'll get some questions.
Yeah, I think it's really important that we build a little bit of a community around this, and a lot of effort has been put into trying to ensure that the study is enjoyable as well as beneficial and interesting. And so what we've got is you've got me 24/7. I'm here. You've got my mobile number scattered everywhere. Please never hesitate. I love calls at 3 a.m. It's really not a problem. We're also setting up a little WhatsApp group, which is already up and running. If you want to tag along, just send me a message on WhatsApp and we can add you to the group. And that's just for sort of instant updates, instant ideas. Never hesitate to come forward, please, with any thoughts or suggestions or problems or queries. The other thing we've done is we've set up a secure area on the website, which Kelly's going to point out now. There we go. If you go on to the schools area of the What on Earth website, whatonearth.co.uk, and you scroll down a little bit, you'll find a link to a study participant area, and that's password protected. And the password is a really tricky one. It's WOE, What on Earth, RFP, with the F in lowercase. Please log on there. We'll be putting lots of information up there. We'll be putting updates for you as we go along, and we'll be trying to make it as sort of useful as possible in giving everybody the full picture.
Yes, and this booklet is an example of something that's on there already. So we've put together a booklet of information. You can see it's all in one place: contact, the research questions, explanation of each group, key dates. So you have that. You'll have the recording from today if you have any members of staff who weren't able to come and need to find out about this. I know some of you are very active on social media as well. So if you are tweeting about the study, do tag in Open Uni RFP and What on Earth Mag. And I thought we could use the hashtag WE Study 2024. But I think just time now for some questions. What are you most looking forward to? Anyone want to ask anything? I'll take the screen down so we can see you.
What's everyone most worried about is another question.
No, we don't want to ask that. What are you looking forward to?
Okay.
Oh, hi, Lou. I can see you now. Lovely. I can see everyone's faces. Right. Any questions? No one want to kick us off? Oh, hi, Cheryl.
Can I just ask, please? So one of our classes is a split 5-6 class. Does that need to be done away from the sixes? Can I take the fives in with me, or
The fives will get the magazine delivered to them, but we can't obviously deliver the magazine to the sixes as well, because it's just for the fives. But that's not to say they can't share. They just won't get their own individual copy. Is that
that's
that
fine?
correct,
Yeah.
John?
So the
I mean,
sixes can be part of the session is really what
of
I'm
course.
interested in.
Because I imagine, Lou, you'll be in the same situation. You've got a mixed 5-6.
I've got mixed year 5-6 as well. So I'll probably do the same and just get them to like sit year 5 with the year 6, and then they can just share.
It's just
what we're planning on doing is we'll deliver the magazines in a few days before the use by date, and the use by date is actually the start of when you need to use the magazines, not when you need to finish with them. All that will be going up on the website as a little table which says your magazine should arrive on this date at the school. This is the date, please, from which you should use them in class. That way we get an even spread across the issues.
And something to say as well is about the home usage. So we do ask groups 1 and 2, if you can create little folders or make sure the pupils write their names on the magazines. You need to keep them all in school. So all of the issues of the magazines, I think you get 3 or 4 issues during the study, depending on the timings. They all need to stay in school until the end. And the nice thing is that you'll be building up that collection. So during your magazine session, the kids might want to look at the magazine that's just come in, or they might want to compare it with the previous issue. And then once you get to December, they could, of course, take them home. They're magazines to keep. But just we ask you to keep them in school, because that was a really interesting thing from the first part of the study, was going back and comparing and, oh, do you remember this from the last edition? And so it's quite a nice thing to do. So having some kind of system that's going to work for you, for coming back to the magazines. Was that, sorry, John, I cut you off.
No, that's fine.
Any other questions? What I would say is, once you've had a look at the core information on the website, I say there's the booklet there, we'll have the launch video, the PowerPoint from today, the information. Once you've had a look at that with your staff team, if you do have any questions, do come back to John or Sarah or I, because we want you to feel confident about what's happening and when, as we get to September. And just want to say as well, you're welcome to bring along, whichever teachers you like to that session on the 5th of September. We do appreciate your participation in this. Of course, it is for the year 5 teachers, but we will be talking more generally about reading for pleasure and book talk, just a short 1-hour session. So if you wanted to invite others along, that's not a problem. It's not going to affect anything. The more the merrier.
Will that be recorded? Because we've got, I think, a whole school training day then. Just need to double check the date.
I would need to check with Teresa on that.
Oh no, it's not. It's the 5th is the Thursday. Pardon me.
It's a Thursday,
That's
the
fine.
5th. Yeah, we wouldn't normally record things like that.
No, that's fine. I thought when it was early September, it was a training day. What time is that? Do you know, Kelly?
It's 4 till 5.
Oh, that's fine.
Yeah,
No
4 till
problem.
5. Sorry,
Thank
Sam,
you.
did you have a question?
You've just answered it. It was about what time it will be, so that's perfect.
Yeah, 4 till 5. Yeah. Perfect. Lovely. Okay. Well, if there aren't any other questions, we'll hang about. I know you're very busy people. Thank you for your time today. And do come back to us with anything else that you might want answering.
And from the magazine side, just a huge thank you to all of you for participating. It's a very exciting journey that we've already been on, and I think it's going to get even more exciting over the next few months. So I hope you enjoy the magazines. We do our best to keep them interesting.
Yes, do look in the OURP newsletter in July. You're going to get a mention. So we're really pleased to have you on board as well. Thanks, everyone.